Hi, how are we doing? I don't know about you, but I'm beginning to feel bimmed out already. We've only been here a couple of hours. But we've had some really good stuff, which has been really thought-provoking. I thought the main presentations this morning were superb, as was yours, actually. Very interesting, collaborative learning, which is good. Okay. I've got too many slides, so basically I'm going to concentrate on talking about what I call digital life. I'm going to skate over level 2, and also leave you with some resources which are all free, and some final thoughts. I think it might be the other way around, actually. I was fiddling with the slides last night. So. Okay, let's see how we do. This is me. I'm an architect and design manager. I do stuff with the Chartered Institute of Building, doing regional events, talking about BIM and other bits and pieces, and represent the CIOB on various industry forums. I'm also now joint chair of the UK BIM regions, which were the regional hubs, and CETA are now part of our network. I want to talk about our friend here. This is a wonderful little website, if you look at it, Extra Normal. You can write your own play and program the robots to speak in these different voices, and it can be very entertaining. But the point of the slide really is just to say, well, we're very hung up on our processes and our software and our checklists, QA plans, BEPS, TIDIPs, MIDIPs, and all the rest of it that comes with the UK standards. But actually, who is it that does all this stuff? It's people. You know, we make teams, we break teams every day with no thought about how that team works or could work. Successful projects are not made by a successful BIM execution plan. They're made by a successful team of people. And I think, to our shame, I think as an industry, in terms of understanding how people do or don't work together, we are still like a bunch of Philistines, because we pay no importance to these issues at all. But if, for some reason, whatever, the project manager, the QS, the construction manager, and the design manager don't get on, it ain't going to work out, is it? We don't think about this enough. So, as much as we get bamboozled by the technology and all the other stuff that we're going to have thrown at us over the next couple of days, in a very nice way, we need to think about the people issues and how teams work. And what makes teams work. It's not this, because this is what we're familiar with, isn't it? It's all your fault. You know, I'm looking at you. It's your fault. And we're familiar with this adversarial conflict, defending your corner thing that we face every day. And until we break this culture, then we will never use BIM and all the other things that come along with it that open up to any great degree of success. In thinking about people, there's a number of issues we need to think about. So, the different agendas and influences that people have, the leadership that's in that given team or that project, the different dynamics and personality types and indicators that we can access that help us understand how we interact. And in terms of actually engendering collaboration, what are the team values? What are the behaviours? What are the accepted norms? What are our ethics, if you like? What is the group behaviour? Instead of scapegoating one particular role or one particular person, how do we get people to work together and value each other? And I'm not going to give you the answers to any of these things, but this is just to raise them as issues and to say, this stuff is really important. We spend all our time looking at fancy visualizations, and they're really good, all the Hollywood BIM and all the rest of it. But actually, if we spent as much time actually focusing on the people issues and how to make teams work, the technology would actually help serve us to do that job better. Okay, so the point of what I'm really trying to talk about today really is just to take a step back from BIM and the technological piece and just think about what is happening here. You know, and I'm sure there's somebody here that owned an 8-track cassette or a Betamax recorder or a ZX Spectrum or a Commodore 64. But as we go through this, all this stuff is happening in our lifetime. The Gen Ys and Gen Zs, they walk straight into it. But I remember when the first fax machine arrived in our office, and we thought, wow, this is wonderful, get it out of the box. And suddenly this message appeared out of nowhere, and the paper started, wonderful stuff. And then several years later, it's probably in a bin somewhere now. I don't know, being recycled. If we think of Facebook, only formed in 2004, it now has over 1.5 billion users. So at some point in the next few years, it may well top 2 billion. If it was a country, it will be the largest country in the world. That's in the space of around about 10 years. Even Twitter at around about, I forget the usage figures now, it's around about 500 million or something. It's still bigger than the United States. If we look at the iPhone, we've all got something like this, whether it's an iPhone or a Samsung or something else. These things are now a part of our lives. Before Steve Jobs introduced us to these in 2007, we didn't know what it was to swipe, tap, flick, expand, contract, and do all these wonderful things that we do now, and we can't live without them. Apple are very good at selling us things that we don't know we need. And now these things have to be surgically removed. And that's in less than 10 years. So it's just a sign of how things have changed. So the digital fabric and the technological fabric around us is moving at an incredible pace. And if we look at the information that we can access from a global scale to an individual scale, to all the people that we can talk to and network with and do all sorts of stuff, we can think of ourselves as being at the bottom of this huge pile of information. But actually another way to look at it is to say, well, actually, we're right in the middle of it. And we can access it 24/7. I can find all sorts of stuff about you just by going on Google if you've got access to big data tools, you can start to do all sorts of interesting things. I interviewed a guy once. He had actually done some serious research on me in Google and proceeded at the first 5 minutes of my interview, his interview actually, telling me my life history. That was somewhat disturbing. But anyway, there we go. There is I took this photo in Dublin at the last BIM gathering in 2013. And it's a public call box, or it was. But when it was installed, it was state of the art. Somebody had spent a lot of the time designing it, manufacturing it, doing all those sorts of things. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. And now it's totally obsolescent because of these. The same with, what's this? It's a floppy disk. Why, in the name of Microsoft, is a floppy disk still the icon for save in Microsoft Office that we use every day? When did you last use a floppy disk? It's a sign of change. It's an anachronism. And if we take the Apple story itself, then this charts in graphics from the first Apple Macs through to where we are now in terms of the Apple Watch. But it's the iPod that is a significant parallel to our own industry, isn't it? Because the iPod, the advent of accessible music like that, MP3s, iTunes, all that sort of stuff, changed the economic model of the music industry. so that artists are able to produce their own music, sell it direct to the people that wanted to listen to them. So that's just, and people that haven't kept up with digital technology, like say Blockbuster or VHS or whatever, Kodak even is a shadow of what it used to be, because they didn't keep up with the digital transformation, and so they're toast. And I think in terms of our own industry, I think the writing is on the wall here. And I would suggest that the forces that are driving for change within our industry are actually more powerful because they lie outside our industry. Our industry doesn't clamour for change, does it? We like things to remain the same. But the thing is, BIM isn't just about an individual project. It can be about a city, about a region, a part of a country itself, a nation. It could be about the world. And there are smart city initiatives all over the world now, doing the stuff that Claire was talking about earlier, with sensors being built into things, everything connected to the Internet of Things and everything, all this data being transmitted and used for our benefit. Unless some hackers get into it and start playing with the system, which they could equally do, which is why security is important. Which brings us neatly to this. This is from just an infographic. But actually, the more and more data that we put into the cloud, the more and more difficult it is to keep it secure. And every week now, there's another example of somebody's database being hacked and this digital information being available. You know, all the information about your own footprint, your financial transactions, your credit worthiness, your employment history, your health, your insurance rating, your credit rating, all sorts of stuff is available online about you that people can use. So we've created a digital goldfish bowl. And really, I think our society is still getting its head around this, because certainly the legal situation hasn't caught up with it yet. And as fast as we try to keep up with the hackers, some of whom are just kids in the bedroom having a bit of fun one night, some of them are more serious and more malevolent, like the guys who used Stuxnet to take over an Iranian nuclear power plant a few years ago, or got their virus into the International Space Station, or whatever it is. So we're creating this goldfish bowl, and we've got some catching up in terms of how that works. But I think, in my opinion, I think underlying this, I think it's just the absolute inevitability that this digital information can't be kept secret. If somebody really, really wants to access your information, they can and they will. And if you're a professional and you've signed terms of appointment, then you have committed to your client to keep their information safe. So how do you do that? Do you understand the third-party agreements with your server farms and your online security people? Do you know where your data actually is? If your office burns out and your computer network is destroyed, can you recover your data? Is your data safe? How do you get it? You know, do you want to go and check now? Anybody run out of the room? It's these sorts of issues we've got to start getting our heads around. So the BIM train is coming, and I think it's inevitable, because I think the drivers for our industry to link up in information and data terms with other parts of society and the communities we live and work in is irresistible. And that's why we have to make the change. There's drivers inside for us to be better, but there's also a lot of drivers outside where we have to link up digitally to all these other things that are happening around us. So we need to adapt. We need to adapt and respond to survive, because this is now a real evolutionary nightmare we're in, because basically the information specialists, the data specialists, the guys that do this stuff for their living, can move into our industry and clean up, unless we get our act together. So we can talk about mandates, but actually, who wouldn't want to work in a better way, more efficiently, and make more money with less effort? Government strategy is the UK government strategy, so I won't bore you with that, and you can download that online. Lots of clever things we can do in a BIM environment, which you will know about. These are the 8 pillars of the level 2 that we have in place in the UK now. So the 1192 series, part 2 is design and construction, part 3 operation, part 4 CIOB, part 5 security, which has just been issued. The BIM protocol, which is the contract addendum. GSL, which takes us into handover and commissioning and end user. The plan of work and classification. Change is a constant, and I'm hoping you're seeing that the way all this stuff has changed within our lifetimes. I can remember the first calculator being on my desk, and it was yay big. I had one of the first mobile phones. You carried it with a handle. In our lifetime, they are now like this. God knows what our kids will be able to do. And of course, we have Eynon, who's now 6, youngest certified Microsoft professional in the world. He makes, he codes, he programs, he builds his own computer networks. How many in the room can do that? So this is where we are. Okay, I'm under a little bit of time pressure now, so I'm just going to quickly skate through this. But this is where we are, and this is where we might be. And I think, this is sort of Armageddon really, but I think the institutions, the educational structures, the whole piece, the professional structures that we have, they got us here, and look at the state of the industry. They will not get us to where we need to be. So in order to get this big vision of BIM and lean and all the other things we want to happen in our industry, then something seriously has to change. And I think a lot more people should be really angry and energetic and passionate about improving our industry. Why aren't we? Why are we so accepting of this stuff we put up with every day? Things to watch out for: BIM, Internet of Things, smart cities, the move to mobile, being cloud connected, big data. Big data has yet to really turn its all-seeing eye on the construction industry, but when it does, we're going to see some powerful things happening. Performance of kit, subcontractors, main contractors, organisations, people even. There's all sorts of things going to do. And also convergence and crossover between different sectors and industries. We're seeing that more and more now, where technology and the things it enables crosses over. So quick resources, task group website, the level 3 strategy that came out earlier in the year, which is an awesome piece of writing, if you get to read it. Join your local BIM region. You've got the CETA guys here who are helping lead the way. We've got 3 regions in Ireland plus Northern Ireland now. We were at Digital Construction Week last week, and we're hoping to hold a conference with them early next year. BIM for SME. If you're an SME, there's an organisation especially for you. And check out the B1M. It's a YouTube website, but it's for BIM. So you get little short videos explaining different aspects of BIM. And check this out if you want to find out a bit more about what BIM means to you. This is a little online exercise you can do which helps you do some stuff and understand your own position better. And you can download these. These are free guides to BIM acronyms and BIM terms. And that's me done. Thank you very much.